Well, hello everyone. You might not be expecting who's in the studio today. It's not your typical people. But guess what? We're doing a little bit of a collab. We have our Liberty coming over talking about the Aces. So, Stacia, you want to introduce yourself a little to our Aces podcast just because, they might not be listening to Liberty, although we are the better team, I would say, but it's okay.
I mean, just gonna start off talking trash right away. Okay. You may be the better team record-wise, but we got the money as,
Mhm.
one of our episodes, get that money. I'm Stacia Whitaker. I'm from the Across the Pond Liberty podcast and a little bit of a collab. It's good. Don't worry, I'm here to support all the WNBA and the Aces. Even though I don't have any Aces gear, I am wearing a Raiders shirt because, the Raiders ownership over the Aces. So that's as much as I can support right now. But yeah,
It's okay.
Stacia from the Across the Pond Liberty podcast. If you haven't listened to it, hop over there. We have a good time.
So our first game we are going to talk about since we last recorded is going to be the Liberty game, not the Commissioner's Cup, but the one right after that, the one where we did win. Now, does it suck that we didn't win the Commissioner's Cup? 100%. Now, is it kind of like brutal that we won the next game, the one that maybe? Well, we're not going to talk about that. My tissues have already been cried into. So we did win. Chelsea Gray had a triple double. Gotta talk about that. We held Brianna Stewart to only 13 points, and she's averaging 23.3. So did we do something right? I think so. I think that was a good one. Um, as for the Liberty game, I think we played them 3 times in like 2 weeks, 1 week.
Yep.
I mean, that was crazy. I at one point thought my schedule was wrong. I was like, did I put this in the calendar a couple times? So I had to even like check myself on that. But we're gonna go on to the Sparks. I think that game was our alumni day. Let's start off with a high, right? We actually broke attendance records during that game, which I thought was really cool. I think the number was 10,348 people. So I think that's awesome that we were able to have alumni come out to the game, show everybody showing together. Did we win? No. Should we have won? Yeah. Um, Not sure if you were able to catch that one. I know Liberty being your specialty, but
Uh,
definitely.
I can tell you, I came back and watched it after I saw the final score, and I said this on the Liberty podcast. I got to meet Neko Gumake. Just I kind of accosted her at a Final Four and got a picture with her, and I met Leisure Clarendon and got to speak with them at a panel at the Final Four in Minneapolis 2 years ago. And so I
Oh
was like,
yeah.
oh, I wanted to see what they were going to do because I thought that the Sparks had a shot to make the playoffs this year with Kurt Miller being their coach,
Oh
and
yeah.
they've been hit with the injury bug so badly compared to so many teams, and they're on a streak right now, and they've been hanging out at the bottom. And right now they're sitting in eighth in the standings above Chicago. So this could be a preview of a first round between the Aces and the Sparks. And you said this in your notes, and I knew this, but I didn't know the number that the Sparks had lost the previous 13 games to the Aces. So it's about time they won, you could say.
Yeah.
And it was a pretty good game by the Sparks, and they led the whole time, and then let the Aces get back in. And it is sad for alumni, to come back and all the former franchise players, because one of the few WNBA games I've been to was a San Antonio Silver Stars game.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, and so, like, them coming back with, like, the Utah Stars and San Antonio, I was like, "I remember some teams from the San Antonio team, that I saw play," and I was wondering if they were there, but, yeah, the Sparks just kind of, like, were in control this game. But
Yeah.
I have a throw out a question to you,
All right. Let's
because
hear it.
you and James had talked about trying to figure out the Candace Parker hole.
We did.
And Kia Stokes is not a scorer. She
Yeah.
is a rebounder that hits some putbacks and but she doesn't shoot that much. So
Hmm.
Kayla George comes in and hits a few threes, and she's one that's like they've thought about for developmentally to just keep
Hmm.
going. So what would your thoughts be? Kayla George getting more playing time to kind of fill the hole is not so much a defender, but someone that actually looks to put the ball in the hoop.
I think we have to try out all options, right? At the end of the day, we got, Candace hurt. We got to figure out something. Something was not working. It was for a bit, obviously after Candace, we still were winning. I think we got to try out all options, especially with our bench. These are players that are growing and they're continuing. You're seeing it with Bell. You're seeing it with the others on the bench. And I think this is good that we continue to work different ways, right? Now, obviously, if we were going at it and we were winning every single game, I'd say, look, let's not change what we're doing. Let's continue to keep it the same. But right now, I think we need to figure out a little something. I mean, we've won 30 games, right? So we can't say nothing is working. You know, Becky's got the magic. She knows what she's doing. But
Mhm.
could we tweak up a couple things? Of course. And I think that's where we have to figure out what we should do. Um, I like to say I'm gonna auto draft on this moment. But I think the best thing to say right now is that yeah, I think we got to try out every option, see what we can do, you know, move some players around, see if like hey, maybe this will work a little bit better. Obviously, you know, what's not broke don't fix it, right? Is the saying, I think. And but there is something a little broken. So, let's see. Hopefully we can get Candace back by the end before the end of the season. I would love to see that. Will it happen? We're praying, right?
You are.
I mean, you're not, but you know,
I'm
I
not.
am.
I'm not. I'm not. But I also don't wanna I don't wanna if it ends up how we, I believe, each think it's gonna end up, I don't wanna beat a team without them being full strength either,
Exactly.
And that's kind of like one of those, it's like, you don't wanna do that, but I was impressed with Kayla George, and I like her development, and Kirsten Bell's starting to just find her
Oh yeah.
footing. And I know Becky said that she was the one that had put in so much work before the season that she was impressed with, and
Mhm.
just her size and her shooting ability is always gonna be dangerous to come in because as good as Alicia Clark has been in the past, she just doesn't have as much confidence shooting as she used to. And
Yeah.
that injury that she had when she was playing for Washington and just sat out for, years, it kind of just plagued her after it looked like Washington could have been a super team
Yeah.
at one point with Meesman, Deladon, Charles, and Alicia Clark before
Mhm.
Tina Charles went to the Mercury. And then everybody just got hurt. And it's like, oh, so super teams are dependent on how everybody stays healthy and it's starting to just not like bother you, but just like give you guys a little itch right now. So
Oh yeah. I
yeah,
mean, look, at
we'll
the
see
start
what
of the season,
happens.
I would have told you we were good. We would obviously, you know, I think first episode I said undefeated season, and then I was like, let's be realistic with it. But I think we're still keeping good numbers. I mean, look, we just did 30 games. You know, we broke a record yesterday. So we're obviously not doing bad, but
Oh no, not at all. Yeah. Well, I,
there's
I gave
obviously
James a hard time. Yeah,
there's
about the
obviously
undefeated
some time
season.
like
Yeah.
yeah, we definitely got to figure out what we're doing, you know, to continue to be consistent, right? Because at the end of the day, that's the most important thing is yeah, we're winning, but we got to stay consistent in this. We got to figure out what we're going to do when we get to the playoffs because we can have this unbelievable season and then get down to the playoffs and lose. We don't want that. I mean, especially I mean, I think other people will want that, but we don't. We want to see them can maybe have a second year in a row. That would be great. You know, I know Becky would love that. The team would love that. City of Las Vegas would love that, especially since you know. Let's see how the other teams. I mean, you know, to go along now with Vegas Golden Knights winning, we'll get our second. So we'll be the second team, and I mean the first team in Vegas to get two. Right? Yeah, if I'm saying
Yeah.
that right, yeah.
Well, and then if you guys do go back to back, it would be, and this is what I said about how it's so hard to go back to back because it hasn't been done since 0102 with the Sparks, and
Yeah.
that was it. And so in our first episode, I believe I told Kirsten that is you guys are going against history, and that's one of those things that it's real difficult because you got the bullseye on your back, and
Yes.
everybody's
Everybody's out
coming for you,
twice.
and then yeah, and then it's hard to go back to back because this league is just filled with so much talent.
Oh yeah. I think that is the biggest thing, you know? Everybody's looking to us to beat us. They might not care about the other games during the season. The records might not be great, but the one game they are paying attention to is us because they want to say, "Look, they did great. Now we're beating them."
Oh yeah, the Fever had a couple of games where I'm like, "Are the Fever going to beat the Aces?" In one of them
Oh,
in Indiana, I think like the first or second one, the Fever should have. They just didn't have the composure at the end, and Vegas had the experience, and
yeah.
that's what lost it. Because I was like, "Oh god, the Fever are real legit," and even though they're still at the bottom, you they're not a wash game.
No.
They're very dangerous. They had two All Stars, so yeah, everybody's coming for you guys. I mean, and they're coming
Mhm.
for us. I mean, especially Connecticut after last night, but that's for next week for me.
I mean, going to the Fever right now, like I think Boston. I mean, I talk about her all the time on this episode. So this is an Aces podcast mixed with an Aaliyah Boston podcast. Um, and I talk about her and how she's going to be definitely a game changer. She already is. She's already showing it. You know, you're seeing it. And I think while the Indiana Fever right now are not doing like they're in a rebuild mode, right? Like they're a
Oh
young
yeah.
team for the most part. They've gone through a lot of changes in their organization as well. But Aaliyah Boston's coming for it, and I think that she's going to be somebody that we're definitely continuing to keep our eyes on and continuing to see that she is going to be like the next like face of the organization.
Oh, or the W, either one.
Yeah,
You know,
100%.
we'll see. We'll see.
Now,
No. Speaking of the
since we're
face of the
talking about
W, yeah.
yeah, we got Asia Wilson, 53 points against the Atlanta Dream. That doesn't happen every day. In fact, what tied with Liz? Like you can't make these things up. You're like, "Oh, Asia's last few games have just been phenomenal. She's not stopping this year. She's not showing that she's going anywhere. She wants the world to know she's not done. She is going to continue to play her heart out, and she's going to show the world why she is Asia Wilson and why she's going to become more of a household name than she already is. She's making sure everybody knows who she is. And I love that for her. I think Asia Wilson is absolutely a such an amazing player, both on and off the court. You know, her personality, her jokes. She also knows how to play ball.
Oh, that's 100% true.
Yeah.
I showed my roommate the other day just clips because I was watching the highlights from her
Hmm.
53-point game, and then we got into clips of her, after the championship game when she was just a little, as she said, "I am lit right now," and then just all the hilarious, interactions with her and Chelsea, or when she laughed about how she only sat out 4 minutes during the Seattle series, I believe, and she was like and just laughing about it. But I think my favorite thing about Asia's game, and I told you this before we recorded, is my friend sent me a text saying, Asia said, like, F Stewie and F Alyssa Thomas, I'm the MVP. And I
Yeah.
was like, Asia would not say that. And I was like, what does she mean? And then I was looking it up and she sent me the text. And then I saw that it was a 53-point game. I'm like, oh, Asia's saying that, like, yeah, here we go. I know people are talking about this. Here's an even bigger drop for my
Oh
hat in
yeah.
the ring. And I mean, it's phenomenal. I wish she would have gone perfect from the free throw line because I really wish that Asia would have had the record to herself for now instead
Yes.
of sharing it. Um,
Yeah.
but that's the only thing that is the sliver of disappointment is that she couldn't break it because she's right there. But I mean, Atlanta, the Aces had a hold of Atlanta, and then Atlanta just kept fighting, and
Oh yeah.
this just shows like the growth of the dream that Asia had to play the whole game. Like
Yeah.
she couldn't. It wasn't her stacking on points. She had to play to make sure that
Mhm.
they won that game. And as a fan, what a game to be at! Not only for Asia, but you had 212 points scored in this game. Like, what a fun game to witness.
Oh yeah. And I think that's the best part too is, obviously it would have been terrible if like she had broken this record and lost. We would have all been like, what is going on? But
Yeah,
I think it's great that they did get a win too. Now, like you said, would it have been nice if she had gotten maybe just one more point and gotten the record to herself? Yeah. Because this doesn't happen every day. So we don't know the next time she's gonna do another 53-point game. She doesn't know that herself either. But she's showing that she can do this. And I think that's so important too. They were playing where? I think in Atlanta. I
they
want
were
to
in
say
Atlanta.
in
Yep.
Atlanta, so that's even better. I mean, having a win on the road and having such an unbelievable game. Maybe not for the city of Atlanta. They might not have liked that, but everybody honestly respects Asia. So they know, like, you can't. I think the best way to say it is like, yeah, you obviously maybe not a fan of her and like because she's not on your team, but you respect her as a player because you know she's unbelievable. Like, this is somebody that she came from South Carolina. Not that I have a bias towards South Carolina, but my two favorite players came from South Carolina. So I think we gotta. There might be a little bit of a like I don't know, bias, but
This could actually be a good thing that this happened in Atlanta because Asia, her hometown, is closest, I believe, to Atlanta than any
okay.
other WNBA location.
There
So,
you go.
she doesn't get it in Vegas on her team's home court, but she gets it as close to her home as possible. I'm not even gonna
Yeah.
say probably it is the closest to because she is
Yeah.
from South Carolina. So, good on them. And also Atlanta's got great fans that love more than I think like a lot of fans. And they
Mhm.
have their arena. It's cool. They're super supportive. They know they're on the upswing. I got to talk to some Atlanta fans at the Final Four this year, and they were just
Okay.
like excited about like Tanisha and what they almost made the playoffs, and they were like, "We're
Mhm.
gonna make it we're gonna make it this year." And I was like, "I think you will." And it was just interesting talking to them, but they are very passionate, and
Oh, yeah.
like good for Atlanta, like I said, to have that game. But you know, I'm with you. If the Aces lose after Asia puts up 53, it's like I would be laughing and be like, "Who?" I actually wouldn't be laughing. I would be like, "Who else got hurt?" Because someone had to have gotten hurt if that happens. I was like, "Did Chelsea, Kelsey, or Jackie get hurt?" Like that's the only option that would have happened if they
Yeah.
lose. So yeah,
Yeah. I mean, like you said, she's not the only player on the team. So at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, if she got 53 points, but it's like, thankfully, nobody got hurt. I mean, going on record breaking seasons, we also got to talk about last night's game against Chicago. Three of our players had a triple double. I mean, that hasn't happened in such a long time. I think I have the stat here that it was only one team in WNBA history has ever had four double games, and that was Sparks in 2017, where they had Candace Parker, Chelsea Gray. So to see that as well, I was like, this is unbelievable. I mean, let's hope that we can keep this momentum going into the rest of the season. I know we continue to sign a player we signed what Coates to the rest of the season hardship contract, which is great. We need it. We need another player. We're right now going through that. But even going back to last night's game against the Sky, I think we're feeling it. It was Kelsey's birthday yesterday. So for her to have a good game too, I mean, that's a great win for a birthday gift. That's a great gift right there. I mean, I think she would have liked to have like a 53-point game, but you know,
she had enough of those in college. She's good.
yeah, she's
Yeah,
good. She's like, all right,
she's
she's
good.
like, I'll let other people do it now.
Yeah. I mean, but 23 is a nice game for Kelsey. And,
Mhm.
having three players do that, that just shows to how good that starting five is. Yeah. And I mean, Chelsea Gray just getting her first triple double in the first in like, the Aces have made history this week. First triple
Oh yeah.
double in franchise history. Asia knocks
Mhm.
out 53 points to tie the WNBA. They're on the up. They're on the uptick. I, after losing to the Sparks and losing, to the Libs in the Commissioner's Cup. I think they just needed to get that little like check. And so, I mean, it makes them very dangerous. And then getting Coates is also good for the fact that you have another
Oh
big,
yeah.
and she played with Asia in college.
Oh.
So I know that's been a bit, so I'm like, they've played together in college. She has experience. She's going to come in and be a professional
Mhm.
and do well. But you still are just missing like that extra little scorer. And so that could be, because if one of the big four is having an off night, I know James has talked about this. I'm just going to say the thing: we do have a deeper bench right now, so that's where the concern is for the Aces. But it's hard to be concerned when you have three of the top three of the last six number one picks on your team, and then you have
Oh yeah.
Chelsea Gray. Like it, you can't ever just not be worried about the Aces. I mean, another player could get hurt, and they're still worried. Because I mean, Asia could drop 53 on you. You never know.
And I think that's awesome though, is that we have a team that like we knew going into the season. I mean, last year we didn't have Candace and we won. And I think that's awesome to see now too, is going into the season we do have Candace, but we kind of lost her again, right? She's injured. So we're kind of going through a can we do it again this year? And I think that's so awesome to see. I mean, we have a couple more games out on the East Coast, so we'll see how we continue with our momentum. We're at the White House today, which is really cool. I know we have
Yeah.
one of our own at the White House going to be getting coverage, so we'll definitely go ahead and talk about that next episode. But then we go tomorrow, play the Mystics, so that'll be interesting. And then we go back and play the Liberty for the final time. I mean, about time.
Yeah.
I feel like
Well, I
all we talk about is the Liberty, but I mean, this will be the final regular season game until
yeah.
we go.
I mean, yeah. It's going to be interesting because having that extra Commissioner's Cup game is, it's five times. It's five times. And there could be another five times. So who's gonna, if the Aces win, then they're up 3-2. If the Liberty win, they're up 3-2. The Aces right now have the edge for regular season. So
Yeah,
if you guys dropped off and we didn't lose a game the rest of the year, you never know on if who could get that number one seed. I've said this on our podcast. I don't think we're going to get the number one seed. I was worried about holding number two, but after beating Connecticut last night, coming back, I was
got
like,
them.
we've got it. But here is a question that I posed to
Ooh,
Kirsten the other day on the Liberty podcast. So Asia's 53, and Asia's had 42 points. Stewie's had three 40-point games. And then Alyssa Thomas with her, thousands of triple doubles. Who is your MVP if you don't choose Asia for your team? Do you go Stewie or do you go Alyssa? And then the other question is, what is more impressive, Stewie's 3 40-point games or Asia's 53 and 42? Two questions.
So I'm gonna answer the first one since I almost said Asia. I was like, right away I was like, no, no questions asked, Asia. But then, you threw me in for a curveball. Oh, this is tough. Can I just pick auto draft? I mean, no, I'm gonna go with Brianna Stewart. Definitely, definitely her. And now I have to think about the second question. Second question, I mean, I'm gonna listen. You probably know the answer of what I'm gonna say.
Okay.
I'm going with Asia's 53, 42. I think she just had an unbelievable season this year. I mean, I
Oh,
really think
yeah.
she
I
is going to be like I she definitely needs to continue like build she's such a brand in herself, and I love that for her. And the fact that her accolades this season are really showing that she can do what she's putting her mind to, game over. Sh I'm voting for her. She's GOAT. She is a little goat emoji should be popping up right now. Not, but it should be.
I told Kirsten that I was leaning towards Alyssa Thomas. This was before the 53-point game because at the time Alyssa Thomas was ahead of Sloot for being number one in assist and was the leading rebounder in the league. I was like, when has that happened to have someone lead the league in assist and rebounds? And I know her points are just under 16. So I said I give it a little bit to Alyssa just because no one does both of those things and still
Yeah.
scores, and just
Okay.
how she's just such an engine defensively too, because I
Mhm.
think she's top five in steals. And also everyone's scared to take a charge from her. I just,
Mhm.
like, we gotta watch out, get out of her way. But after Asia's 53, I mean, Asia'd be my number two because I'm gonna go with my bias and say it's gonna be Stewie because
Oh,
Stewie got her 45 this year in 3 quarters, didn't even play in that fourth quarter against the Fever. So who knows what could have happened, but she didn't need to play, unlike Asia, who needed to play to hold that dream win down for
oh,
the
yeah.
Aces. I was like,
I
when
would love
if
to
Stewie would have played, it would have been bad.
I
Yeah.
would love to see Brianna and Age just go one on one. Like just one on one and see what would happen. I mean, let's see if we can get that handled. I mean, let's see if we can schedule that.
Let's
Uh,
schedule that, and only fouls if there's blood, is that what it's gonna be?
yeah, essentially, like it kind of like street ball rules, right? Like
Yeah,
whatever happens, happens. I mean, unless they're crying, we'll figure that out.
yeah, well, it would definitely be an interesting one. I saw some Instagram account kind of do, like, who would you wanna see in one-on-one, and one of the most interesting ones was Marina Mabrey versus Sophie Cunningham, and I thought that that would've oh god, I would pay to see that. Also, I would pay it would be like an MMA fight. What about the trash talk before it? I mean, you're on the Vegas team. That would be a great, like, nice little MMA battle. Like, here we
Oh
go,
yeah.
half court, one-on-one, Sophie versus Marina. Oh, that could actually end in a brawl. That would be fun. Yeah, I remember that.
Oh,
Yeah, I still don't know who I'd choose in that. Depends on who's shooting better. That's about it. But
oh yeah.
that would be a good fight. One-on-one matches, we should just start putting them up on the pages.
Be like,
Who would
hey,
you pay to see the one-on-one? I mean,
100%. I would
yeah,
definitely pay to see Brianna and Asia go at it. Like I would love to see that.
that would be great.
Maybe hopefully Brianna wouldn't have another black eye. That would be terrible.
Oh, that's true.
Um,
Yeah,
I think Asia would play clean. We love her, so it's definitely I think she would take it. I think Asia Wilson would take it 100%. So
I would I would
I
take
would
go ahead. Sorry.
I would put I don't want to say I would put my money on it because I'm not betting. I'm not betting. But I would say yeah, Asia for the win.
I wanna see like a Jackie Young, Enrique one-on-one. And
Okay.
and also you played in college together, how fun would that be? And then Sabrina and Kelsey, they were having
Oh
a good
yeah.
time the other day. Because then you have your Pac-12, if how long that still exists now. You have your Oregon, Washington, old school kind of like,
Mhm.
battles with those 2, and they were fighting it out. I was like, "Ooh, that'd be another fun one." Like, what else could we do? I'm gonna think on that for later, and we have to figure out more one-on-one matches to see.
I think I agree with you on Sabrina and Kelsey. I think that'd be really cool too. So those are my two picks. I would say Sabrina might win. I mean,
She's
Ace's
taller.
community, please don't kill me
Yeah.
for that. But then
Yeah.
I would think Asia would win. So even each other out.
Yeah. Best out of 3, we'd have to see. Yeah.
See.
Yeah, that'd be
So
fun.
guys, I think right now, we have some exciting games coming up. Like I said, we're at the White House. So I think that'll be really interesting to get some good content. We have somebody out there. So one of our own is there getting coverage. So that'll be really cool to see and be able to talk about next episode. We will be going to play this. We are playing the Mystics the next day. So we'll definitely cover that next time. But then we also go back to playing the Liberty. So we'll both have coverage to talk about with that. Now let's see what happens.
Yeah, enjoy the White House this year because 'cause we'll be there next year.
I think we'll be back to
Ooh,
back. I think we'll just have our assigned seats next time there too.
there you
Um,
go.
so guys, everybody have a good one. We will definitely be back. Catch us maybe next time. Who knows who will be here?
Alright, I'm Stacia,
I'm
and thanks
Samantha.
for having me, Sam.
You're welcome.
Alright, till next time.